when you thought it was over, we started it over. Just a different chapter, but still part of the story. Spirit of a patriot, but the heart of a soldier. If you wasn't part of the grind, you can't be part of the glory. We right here, we ain't going nowhere. It's your worst nightmare. We back and they all scared. Every year is our year. The defense is top tier. Whenever you see that red and blue, it's a new era. They too scared of us. I don't know who said it was over, but they lied. The truth never miss. Kicking down the door like who let him in. We been grinding and we ain't worried about the small talk. We big timers.
Yeah, can't believe it. We leaving. Yeah, we achieving. Can't be beaten. See it loud, see it proud from the top of my lungs. Hometown, take a crown. You ain't trying with us. Around this side, you really can't deny. You can't run, you can't hide when the Patriot comes.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the Patriots Friday Night Lights podcast, brought to you by Boston Sports Entertainment Network. I'm Brendan. I'm here with Dog Nation. So, Drake May's first start happened. How do we feel?
I definitely, like I said, I liked it. You know what I mean? From my opinion of it is he looks like he's ready to be an NFL quarterback. Just doesn't look like the team is, you know what I mean, ready to like support him all the way because, you know, the 3 turnovers. One of them, like, I really marked one of them on him as far as that bad interception he threw.
The first one.
Early on, yeah. The second one was kind of like a freak.
That was a crazy play by the
defense.
defense.
Yeah. It was a freak play. And that strip sack, I'm not even going to say, you know, some people are like, oh, he was holding it too long. I mean, we're watching it from the TV. So how much can we really know? But it didn't look like he had the ball that damn long. You know what I mean?
No, it really didn't.
I don't feel like he really had much time, honestly.
Right. And also it's tough because, like, the play before that was the no-call face mask.
Right.
So it was like that play shouldn't have even happened to begin with.
Drive killers.
So that's kind of, like, tough to just kind of swallow that, right? I mean.
Yeah, those now most certainly. I feel like I said a loss is a loss, but do I feel like the referees put a little bit too much of their hand into it? Most certainly, because if I'm not mistaken, with one of those turnovers, it was what, like 28, 13?
Yeah, it was a close game still.
And look, that happened, the turnover happened, and he came out and scored the next drive again. So it's like, you know, had we maybe got the face mask and, you know, without the little extra turnovers, who knows what that game could have been, because then you could have had yourself in position of one touchdown. But
yeah, and then early in the game where it was kind of the back corner of the end zone, Marty Mapu got flagged for
horrible call.
Holding. Yeah, it was within 5 yards. The ball was out of bounds. Like, it really wasn't that catchable. Like, I don't know what the hell they were thinking.
Yeah, the PI,
because it was third down. It would have been a field goal attempt, but instead they got 4 more chances, and I think they got on the second down to Tank Dell.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I don't know the history of maybe that referee staff or how much time they got in, or, you know, because I heard certain coaches do drop hints to refs or like certain things before games, like, hey, you got to watch for this. These guys are known for, you know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I can't say that it shakes one way or another. Did it look good? No. I feel like officiating all across the league was just bad because what was it, Monday Night Football? Man, we had like
20 penalties or something.
Oh my God.
Crazy. Yeah. Because I know at first, like, all the penalties was happening with, like, special teams because, like, all the new rules and stuff. But it just seems to be all over the field. Every single play, there's something. Right? Because I know there's, like, the new offensive line rules or something like that where there was, like, the lineups. Yeah. It's a little different. And that was a tricky thing. But
honestly, I feel like the NFL as a whole – well, I'm not even going to only say the NFL. I feel like football as a whole – well, no, I'm going to have to go back to the NFL because the NFL changes. You know, I mean, the NFL play style is different from every other level, obviously, because of competition and, you know, I mean, a few nuances as far as, like, we spoke about the hash marks, you know, I mean, rules and things like that. but I think they're creating a problem of you see how they're like, oh, well, certain offenses are down this year. Why does it sacks are up and all? That's because, in my opinion, that the defensive side of the ball has got so much more athletic, especially edge rushers and everything else, that a lot of these linemen, tackles, mainly the tackles, in college, like I said, they're not playing out of a 3-point stance where they're taught to, you know what I mean, get down. They're the ones getting downhill and, you know what I mean, pancake run game and things like that. If you really look at it, a lot of them are standing up in 2-point stance because it's such a pass-heavy game now. And, you know, the league hasn't put much emphasis on running backs getting paid or, you know what I mean, just the overall value market of the running backs.
Right.
It's because it has transitioned to that passing league. But now, like I said, everything is counteractive. So obviously, like I said, on the defensive side of the ball, they're getting these pass rushers that's coming out of college only 240 pounds or, you know what I mean, not your not your typical size, but they're athletic and they can get uphill. So like I feel like I see a lot of that going on. Like I said, like the narration of understanding the need that needing of having that solidified run game to go along with your quarterback as well. Like I said, if you ain't, it just looks like if you don't have, you know, a premier tackle right now, it's hard. It's hard to get your going. Like
Speaking of me, more of a passing offense, with Drake May in there, I mean, I know we were talking about Alex Van Pelt a lot last week. That offense looked totally different. I mean, I know our run game wasn't really doing much, but I felt like we were just slinging the balls so much more and pushing it downfield. I mean, minus the 2 touchdowns with DeMario and Booty, I mean, I feel like everything else was definitely beyond the sticks. I feel like we were really pushing it.
And see with a quarterback like that, like just Drake May, every time he talks, like you could just tell he a football player. You know what I mean? Like I don't think the standard of him losing, he doesn't seem like the type of person that wants to sit with that. He seemed like he wants to go out there, fling it, win. You know what I mean? And it might not always look the prettiest. You know what I mean? Do we want the turnovers to clean up? Clearly, yeah. You know what I mean? And especially with the team that we have, we can't overcome these type of things.
Oh, absolutely not. No.
When you got a quarterback that got arm talent like that, it could do the things that he do. Now you can get a better look at the roster to identify if wide receiver, we can sit here and keep saying that wide receiver has been a problem for the last couple of years, but when the quarterback's problem's been the problem for the last couple of years, how do we even really know what do we fully have on the perimeter as wide receivers? Because Kayshon Boutte, if we can get Kayshon Boutte to be at least 75 to 80% of what he was his freshman year in college, because this was somebody that was being looked at as a first round pick at one point. You know what I mean? So with Drake May in the game, like I said, even with the Tyquan Thornton thing, like with me, am I fond of him? No. You know what I mean? Did I want to see him do more? Yeah, of course. But I feel like with his game, Tyquan Thornton is not going to be your route runner. You know what I mean? The guy that's just going to go win a one-on-one matchup because he needs to beat a guy on the end-breaking route or the wiggle. Tyquan Thornton is a straight shooter as far as a deep threat. Now, with somebody like Drake May with that type of arm talent, that now you can exploit that. Mac Jones did not have the arm talent to exploit that.
Yeah, I was about to say every quarterback drafted with Tyquan wasn't made for Tyquan. Right, I mean, it was all short arm, like we were just talking about Bo Nix, right? There's nothing too crazy with his arm, and Tyquan is all about that deep ball, right? He's not gonna.
I feel like in Mac Jones' situation, like I said, a lot of people criticize the Matt Patricia pick. Was it exactly smart? No, but I feel like Matt Patricia got the most out of him as far as his physical talent. See, Josh McDaniels managed, you know what I mean? He was able to really get some things done to manage some games with him to win. As to where, like I said, if you go back and look at that year, that everybody's trying to make like it was just a disaster. The Patriots did have a chance to win 2 games that would have made them 2-7, and they would mean 10-7, and they would have went to the playoffs. Like I said, Ramondre Stevenson fumble on the 3-yard line against Cincinnati. That was a win. You know what I mean? You're on the 3-yard line. They had no more timeouts. That was a win. And obviously the Vegas game with Jacoby Myers.
Yeah. We don't talk about that game. That was brutal at the end.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I like to look at the picture as a whole because, has things been good? No, but the way people try to – has it been a complete disaster? Last year was a complete disaster. Did you want more Mac Jones second year? Yeah, but like I said, defensive coordinators watch film and everything else in between. So the question would be, where would we need Mac Jones to improve on from what he did? And I hate to get so far into the Mac Jones thing, but I'm just giving context of why people should look at these things a little bit different when it comes to Drake May. But, with the Mac Jones thing, it was just like kind of with him, like where do we look for him to get better at? Like the thing that he was lacking the most was arm talent. There's not much he could do about that besides fix his mechanics and footwork and things like that. But
which I think he was working with Brady's old QB, the throwing coach. So he tried to put in the work, but I mean, there's only so much you can do. I mean, Drake May, just looking at that arm talent. I mean, Demario Douglas, he had a great game. That was fun. Finally, good to see him get the target that he deserves, because all throughout this year, it just seems like we were just not giving him the ball.
Right. And I'm pretty sure those guys in the locker room, they knew what it was too, because realistically, Drake May showed you the difference of a quarterback that's holding the ball and hesitating and a quarterback that's getting it loose, but can get himself out of trouble if he does hesitate. You understand what I'm saying? Like Jacoby Brissett,
right.
You can't afford to miss your first read. You know what I mean? You can't afford to be missing reads downfield. Drake May can get out in the open, and now he moves pretty well.
Really encouraged with how he moved out of the pocket. He definitely was always going through his reads first. I thought every time he left the pocket, it was a smart decision. Right? There was only I think one time where he kind of ran up and then got clobbered, but he threw the ball out. But I feel like all the decisions that he was making, the directions he was going, were all really smart, and I thought they're all well timed. I didn't think he did anything too stupid with trying to use his legs, which was nice.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, I'm sitting here watching Thursday Night Football right now too. I'm looking at
I got on the side,
Yeah, I'm watching Bo Nix, and it's like he doesn't like that. 2 passes in a row. One of them was an off platform. The other one, he was in the pocket. He just had happy feet in there. And that's it.
Right, and I didn't see that with Drake. I was really encouraged with Drake. I know there's all those turnovers and stuff, but I thought some of the decisions he was making were just so good.
Because I feel like
I was really impressed.
I feel like, right, from the standpoint to say that Drake May needs to sit and develop, did we ever hear, I'm talking about a scout say this, or this is what was being said by multiple media people, and it was just being followed up on because how would y'all realistically know if this kid needs to sit or not? You took him number 3 in the draft. You feel me? So
well, he was going to go number 1 if it was the year prior, right? I mean, this kid has been top 3 quarterback for multiple years.
And
he knows what he's doing.
And realistically, like I said, as they sit there and talk about it, we don't know what type of work he's putting in the offseason. Because like I said, everybody, Justin Herbert now, but even though he was the number 6 pick in the draft, multiple people will admit, I didn't see this from him. I didn't. So that just goes to show you that sometimes coaching, there's a lot of things that can go into maybe why a quarterback doesn't succeed. You feel what I'm saying? Do I always feel like a coach needs to be fired? No, but that's just the nature of the building. Nature of the business. The quarterback is going to have a little bit more time than the coach does. You know what I mean? So that's what, even Trevor Lawrence, and I'm being honest, I was never really high on Trevor Lawrence. You know what I mean? I could see why someone
I
would
liked him.
Size,
Yeah.
arm.
His freshman year was pretty awesome. But then after that, I mean, he started to slow down a little bit. But I think he was the number one recruit coming from high school, and then he was the number one quarterback straight into college. Right, it was kind of a done deal the second he got into college.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of onus is put on that Alabama winning the national championship. Because realistically, after that, if you look at it, they were playing in the ACC, so this isn't the ACC that when Florida State and Miami and all these other schools are actually at their peak. No, they actually had a weaker. The ACC was very weak, which is why you look at Clemson now and they're having trouble because Dabo Sweeney don't want to pay no money, but that's neither here nor there.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, so like I said, I don't want to take nothing away from him because I mean, I definitely think Trevor Lawrence leads the Jacksonville Jaguars today. There's going to be a lot of teams calling them, and if we didn't have Drake May and Trevor Lawrence was on the market, yes, I will be in here like go get him. You know what I mean? Because we don't know if maybe it's Jacksonville, if it's coaching, or anything. But one thing I do know is his completion percentage was at less than 57% in college against man coverage. So I already knew that was going to be a problem considering you were about to see more man coverage than you did in college. And like I said, as far as field dynamics and just, overall athleticism and what he had to deal with. But honestly, I feel like in this situation with the Jaguars, as many first-round picks as they got over there, you might have to look at the coach. You just might have to. Not like they don't have talent.
Yeah, I mean, Trayvon Walker. I mean, I haven't heard his name in forever. Like, what
Devin
happened to that? Yeah, right.
That was a reach right there in the first place. Like, look, I'm gonna show you. There, I told you I grade out the draft, right? Now, a quarterback in the draft that would measure out perfectly, but his production is not there, would be somebody like Drew Allen. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if around the time that draft time comes up, don't be surprised if Drew Allen climbs a little bit. Because I give him an A+ for his height, 6'5". He's 238. Give him an A+ for that. You know what I mean? 40 time, not the best. Didn't really defense. He faced some pretty decent defense, some average defenses. He has a pretty solid release, short passing, could use some improvement. He can pass over the middle. That's pretty solid. He's pretty solid on the long ball. He can get out the way. So overall production, I'd probably give him about a C+. But like I said, just the measurables alone. Now that 6'5", 238, let's say he goes into the draft and runs a 4.66. Somebody's gonna talk themselves into those measurables. And that's what then happened with a lot of those Georgia defenders, is that when they go into the draft, they measure out so well and they jump off, you know what I mean, athletically. Oh,
right. There's the guy on the Eagles.
I'm sorry.
Linebacker.
Yeah, they're gonna wow you athletically and everything else.
Yeah.
And then some team is gonna talk themselves into, I need to do this. That's what happened with Trayvon Walker, because clearly you had Aiden Hutchinson there. That was the proven commodity, but you had a player that played on the championship team with multiple other first rounders who kind of moved around on the defensive line. Then when he came into the draft, he's 6'5". 275. I think he ran a 4.5 or 4.4. You know what I mean? That 40 time, man. That 40 time, I have some of these GMs, man, losing their job because everything else will measure out. But the moment they go see them run that 40-yard dash and it's something that's extremely high for whatever reason, they go crazy about it. And my thing is this: he's a defensive end. When is he ever really going to need to run 40 yards?
Right. It's just like when a offensive lineman has to do that.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't make any, or a quarterback, like to a certain extent, a quarterback doesn't really need to run in a straight line, right? They're usually side on the sideline.
Acceleration. Yeah, it's a good acceleration tool, but it's like with me, I'll be more interested in that 3-cone. You know what I mean? All right, the 40 looks good. Like, let me see what the 3-cone looks like. You feel me?
Right.
Then that'll give you something like, okay, athletically it's there. Now you may just want to look at the player's profile. Like, all right, so what do you need to work on? Is it an IQ thing? Should he get a little bit stronger? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, things like that. But yeah, Jacksonville, like I said, I mean, they wanted to reach on players. The Calvin Ridley thing didn't work out because Calvin Ridley's one of those. You seem like you know enough football. The X and X, Y, Z receivers. Calvin Ridley's more of a Z receiver that needs to be off the ball because he needs that free release. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, he's a speed guy.
He can when okay, so he might be about ready. So he's one of those guys that can kind of get that free release and beat coverage and things like that. But try to put him down at an X and where he can get pressed, where they're putting bigger corners on him, and now they're getting their hands on a 6'1", 191-pound frame.
Yeah,
production is going to drop.
Right. Well, speaking of the Jags, we have a special guest coming in. This is Travis. He's writer for Big Cat Country, co-host for the Duval Dive. He's also on the Inside the Pigskin podcast. How we doing?
Welcome. How you doing, Travis?
Hey, I'm doing well. I heard you guys talking about Calvin Ridley, the man who should not be named in Duval County.
Oh, man. I ain't know I was opening up the wounds. I didn't know I was opening up the wounds. My bad.
Oh no, it would have been wounds. It would have been wounds if we didn't have this young man, the prodigal son, Brian Thomas Jr. So it's fine now, man. We good. We love y'all. Thank the Titans for taking Calvin Ridley. Like we got the new Calvin. It's fine.
For sure. I definitely like Brian Thomas. I like him. Every week I'm seeing a highlight from him. He definitely looks good and like. You know what I mean? I envy a little bit because I'm just wishing, like, damn, man, when's one coming to the Patriots? Like, when's that wide receiver gonna get there?
Yeah.
I mean,
we sold all the victories and all the happy times for the ghost. No, just to have a wide receiver one. I guess that's the cost we paid. That's the deal we paid with the devil, unfortunately.
Wait, where'd y'all get him out again? 18th or something like that?
It was 23, I believe. We traded back from 17. Yeah, to get him still. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that was
great.
Well,
it helped that everyone wanted Malik, so you guys were able to kind of sneak down the draft and get him.
Yeah, I mean, it's helpful.
I'm not gonna lie. I was I don't know what he's doing over in the Colts, but once New England was there and I see Adonai Mitchell, I'm not gonna lie. Over Jalen Pope, I was a little. I'm like,
Give it a season. Give it a season with Polk because Polk. You knew that was gonna take. You knew it was gonna take some time, but also give AD because AD's struggling in Indy also right now.
Yeah,
but both of their struggles seem to be a little different. AD's struggling he's running away from contact. It's a weird thing. Like you can see it on you running a slant route. Like he's noticing that he's hearing them footsteps. Like he's pulling up on routes, things like that.
Yeah,
it's a little weird.
Yeah, his route running
he's not really diving.
Did need some refinement, from a pro standpoint. You do need some refining in his game. Jalen Pope, I think he'll be a good player. You know what I mean? I just from my standpoint, with all due respect to him, when you knew you had an offensive line coming into the season, offensive line problem, you got a receiver problem. The receiving core doesn't really look like it done boasted. The offensive line has gotten worse. You know what I mean? So Jalen Pope, respectfully to him, you know what I mean? That didn't fix the receiver problem. It's looking like you're gonna have to bring in somebody like a T-Mac or somebody else to come in and fill that alpha role where you can kind of, you know what I mean, get everybody else into the position that they should be in, because maybe none of them are that alpha right now. They can play, but they just not where they should be at. You know what I mean? There needs to be, the Patriots need some size on the outside.
I hear you. I'm not the Patriots guy, so don't let me tell you about the thing that you obviously know more than I do. But I'm always the guy that's going to say, let's pull it back. Let's calm it down with these rookies. You never know what they're gonna look like at year 2, in the middle of year 2, or something like that. Maybe even the end of year 1. Like that's kind of what happened with Christian Watson last season. It was just the second half of the season, and all of a sudden he's a brand new guy.
Yeah,
you never really know. So I honestly thought Brian Thomas Jr. was going to take the first half of the season, or even the first whole season, to start looking like the guy that he was looking like in week 2. So I'm happy that it worked out, but also if it didn't work out, I feel like that's the exact same thing. I feel like we should all be fine with that, because most of the time, historically, rookies don't work out in their rookie year, and then sophomore, third season, good to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And with Polk, it's tough because he hasn't had we just started Drake May, so we haven't even seen him really play with Drake May for too long, right? He was working with Jacoby Brissett, who mostly was throwing the tight ends and maybe a running back. I mean, he never targeted a receiver, so we haven't really gotten to see Jalen Polk yet. He struggled last game. I think a couple targets.
I think he'll be all right. I honestly think he would be pretty good. Like you said, we'll see. We'll see. So speaking of, because now obviously we got a game coming up this weekend at 9:30.
So. All right, cool.
Yeah, so obviously both teams are 1-5 right now. Honestly, in my opinion, you got a little bit more to be happy about than I do. Like I said, we talk about Brian Thomas and everything else, and so like, if you can identify what the problem is right now, because coming into the season, I'm pretty sure you had a little bit more expectations from the team. So like. Yeah. Do you feel like where do you feel like it's just not clicking at?
Well, that's interesting, because I think everything starts and ends. Well, I can't say ends, but it definitely starts at the top, and it starts with our general manager, and the collaboration, or maybe I should say lack of collaboration between our general manager Trent Baalke and our head coach Doug Peterson. I mean, there's always been the rumorings of it from the time that he was hired, Trent. So from the time that Doug was hired under Trent, that there might be that whole push and pull of who's really running the show. And you have a guy who has his own philosophy in the guys that he drafts in Trent Baalke. He's always going to have those long arm guys. He's the size queen. He's that dude. Then you have a coach in Doug Peterson who kind of has his scheme and what he wants to run. And that's that West Coast offense, that Philly special, the Philadelphia Eagles offense. Like, that is who he is. A very simple offense for the quarterback to kind of understand. Cool. We know who you are. We know who Trent is. Do those things mesh? Maybe, sometimes, and doesn't seem like it's necessarily meshing as far as the players that you're then drafting to try to put into this Ryan Nielsen defense, but also you're switching that defense from a Mike Caldwell fully, nearly exclusive zone defense to a exclusive man defense, and you're still like having the same, like, it's a lot of push and pull that's obviously not working out very well in building your defense, because sometimes that can take years to just try to get the right guys for the right scheme into the building. And they've switched defensive schemes. They've switched from a 3-4 to a 4-3. They've switched from a fully zone defense to a fully man defense, and they're struggling with that. And then you have, you're drafting guys on offense who just seem not to always fit the scheme that you're bringing in.
Right, for sure.
And when I say it starts at the top, that's really what I mean. Like, I really do think it's just a lot of ideological issues, or where they just can't get on the same page as what scheme they're running, their identity. Who are you? Right.
Good, because some people, I don't think they really understand how significant that is on defense when you're switching from a 4-3 or a 3-4, because it's a personnel thing, because defensive ends are different in those schemes. Like, that's where the 3-4, you got them bigger defensive ends. Like, just to give you Christian Baltimore, he's a 3-4 defensive end. He ain't gonna play in the edge, but he's playing them interior. You know what I mean, to eat up that space. Versus now, when you're doing that, you asking a defensive end to get kicked out on the edge more so by itself, and to contain, whether it's backside, front side, things like that. A lot of things can change. Jacksonville, like I said, I'm a diehard Patriots fan, but I do follow football as a whole. Yeah. Jacksonville, to me, seems like they're paying on potential, because I'm gonna bring up the Tyson Campbell thing. All right, Trevor Lawrence, should he not been the highest paid player in the year? I mean, in NFL history. I feel like some of it's opportunity because these quarterbacks are getting paid, and if you want to pay Trevor Lawrence, who the hell you want to pay? So, you know what I mean? That's how. Now the Tyson Campbell thing, that right there, plus how we were just talking, like you said, he liked the long guys. Right before you came on, I was talking to him about how some GMs have fallen in love with the draft, the combine process, where you may not see the production there, but this player gonna come in there and blow you off the boards athletically, and now you feel like you have something. You feel like that's kind of what happened with Jacksonville with the Tyson Campbell, Trayvon Walker.
I mean, honestly, it's hard to say with the level of certainty what's happening behind the scenes as far as why they negotiate with this guy and not that guy. But I have my opinions. I can say that. Right. And so with my opinions, I want to make sure I'm clear on this. This is not something I heard. This is just what I think, because I'm a DB guy. I'm a former UCF cornerback. When we go out to camp practices, I'm literally only over with the DBs half of practice. Like that's what my focus is. And I said in the preseason, even watching Tyson Campbell be dominant in preseason, I wasn't extending. And that's me watching him be dominant and still saying, I ain't extending him yet. I'm waiting another season at minimum to see that he can be healthy for a full season, because at the time it was only one of 3 seasons that he'd been healthy the full season without having these soft tissue injuries.
Right.
Like his biggest issue is his availability. It's cool. And that's not significantly different than a Jaguars tackle, Cam Robinson. A solid player, cool. But I need to see you on the field the whole time before I'm going to give you that money. And Tyson then gets injured in camp, and I'm like, oh man, he just took this money not a week ago, and he already has a soft tissue injury. But cool, then he came back, and then he gets injured after week 1, and I'm like, I'm cursing. Like, I'm legitimately cursing. Like, I'm just being honest with you. Because I'm like, dude, you can't take those risks for that much money at that time of the season when you have a few options, or you can at least, slow play this bad boy. But that was a risk. So to your point, they were banking on potential, and he's a really dang good corner. Right. When he's healthy. When he's healthy. And he may be back this game if they take him off IR. They have the option before Saturday. Before Saturday night, so that it's quite possible before this game kicks off that Tyson Campbell may be back, and you'll see what I'm talking about as far as this good player, this top. I don't know. I feel like 10 is probably a reasonable cornerback in the league. Maybe not.
I wouldn't take that away from him. Like I said, it's just as far as the money aspect of it, because now it looks like you need to clean that team up a little bit more. So to give a player, like I said, I'm not saying that his talent doesn't warrant that type of contract versus what he is giving you with that talent. Like you were just saying, availability, because they could end up stuck in a situation kind of like us, but except we've seen this story before where the corner.
So give me a little context. What's the situation kind of like you guys? What do you mean when you say that part?
Stuck chasing the wrong pick. Okay. Because you guys CJ Henderson in 2020, if I'm not mistaken, right? That didn't work out. It was number 8. Who's the other edge rusher y'all end up taking? Clavon
Chason, the sack master, sack guru.
and then you got it, and then you have to bring in a Trayvon Walker. That's what I'm trying to get at. Like,
I got you. You end up spending multiple years, at this point, nearly a decade chasing a guy.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, because I said Trevor Lawrence, like, y'all, in this game, I would give Jacksonville an edge because simply just put, like, y'all are more talented than the Patriots. And
yes, I think we can agree on that one.
As bad as it would look, I can understand a fan like you because you have at least playoff expectation. Do you think that they still can make the playoffs? Because there are not a lot of teams that are far ahead of them. Because if we're talking about the Jets making the playoffs, a win Sunday could change things.
I don't want to lie to you, man. I don't want to lie to you. The playoff expectations went out the window I don't know, week 3 for me.
Yeah.
Like, no, again, I'm not talking like a fan because I'm a fan of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Right.
I'm at least a decade before I ever started covering a team. So I want to be real and say this: I have 2 hats that I'm wearing right now. One's analyst, one's fan. Fan is
Right.
Hope. Hope died 10 years ago. I'm all analyst right here. Like, this is all.
Yeah.
Playoffs is not what I'm talking about. Like, we are literally one game from legitimately having real conversations of whether Doug Peterson will be the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars by the time that they land. We are entering that conversation. We are talking about whether or not the GMs want to be fired. It's a clean sweep.
I was about to say, you guys are pretty much like one win away from, or one loss away from complete implosion. I mean,
Right, so we can't be having the same conversation talking about playoffs at the same time of win number 2 talking about also whether or not we're going to make the playoffs. No. At this point, we are like, hey man, blow this bad boy up and get us a one sound as far as your GM and your head coach being on the same page and giving us a scheme that's going to work.
On y'all in?
Actually, yes, I am seeing you frozen.
Hold up.
I thought it was just me, honestly.
Excuse me for a second.
Yeah, you're. But you guys also play with the Texans, right? That makes it so much more difficult to even consider talking about playoffs.
Because the Texans are balling out of control in division. I mean, what are they, 2-0? I believe they're 2-0 in the division.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're not 6-0. There's no way they're 6-0. But let me see. What are the Texans right now? Because I know it ain't good. Not for Jacksonville, at least.
Right.
But nevertheless, like it's kind of one of those things where I always thought the Jaguars might be playing. There was a high potential that they'd be playing for second place, but I never thought it would be like. I never thought it'd be like this. Like, this is something else that I just kind of wasn't expecting. But now that I'm seeing it, it's kind of I'm sorry. So they're 5-1. The Texans are 5-1. Jaguars are obviously last place they're 2-0 in the division. Like, there's no playoff talk at this point. You're praying for a wild card. You're not winning the AFC South. And what wild card team is like? The Jaguars would like legit have to go off on a 9 to win 9 of the last 11 games. Realistically at minimum.
Sorry, I'm back. I just don't know what's wrong with my camera.
9-2 essentially is what you're talking about. The Jaguars having to go in the last 11 games. Yeah, and with the slate that they have coming up right now, no way. I'm not crazy enough to say that.
Right.
I can be the biggest homer ever, and I'm not crazy enough to say that watching this team lose against the Cleveland Browns in week 2.
Right. I mean, with all these crazy losses and high expectations not being met, what are your thoughts with Trevor Lawrence?
So that's the fun part, man.
From the outside,
everyone seems to be down on Trev, and I'm like, I
know it.
Go ahead. Yeah. Give me your outsider view.
Yeah, so I mean, last week he had 4 touchdowns that were dropped, and I feel like I've been seeing that like over and over. I feel like these receivers and him are just not connecting, and like you said, we're kind of start at the top. I don't know if the scheme's not working well with these guys or what, but I also see Trevor Lawrence throwing horrible interceptions. I just feel like it's kind of a worst of both worlds, to be honest. But I mean, I haven't been watching as diligently as you, so I'm kind of curious at your side.
So he does have some horrible interceptions, but also if you're looking at the timing of he hasn't had a lot of turnovers this season. He's actually been very good at protecting the ball so far. Like, he only has the 3 picks, and I know I say only has 3 picks, but I believe 2 of them have come like late in games where they're down. He's just kind of forcing them, kind of trying to make a play. Like one of them, they were down 18 points, and it was 3rd and like 13, and late third quarter, you're forcing it. Yep. I got you. So no, man. So it's like, I'm not down on Trevor, but there are so many pieces that's problematic within this whole system that it's kind of hard to ever be down on the one guy who you think is probably playing reasonably good. And I'm not saying he's playing great, but he's playing reasonably good despite the fact that they've had no running game in half of the games. Like, he had two ridiculously bad games. Trevor Lawrence did. I want to be clear on this. Early season, he had 2 ridiculously bad games, probably some of the worst plays that I've seen from him in his career. And then he's been good like the last 3, maybe 4. Yeah, well, no, not say 3 games. The last 3 games, like he's been like legitimately good, and it doesn't matter because the scheme is still problematic. The defense is still giving up like ridiculous amount of explosive plays. They can't stop anybody in the red zone. Running games mad inconsistent, or the coaches aren't even trying to lean on it because they have no identity. That's why I say so. Trevor's not even like my top 5 problems on this team, which is crazy to say. Because he's your QB1. It's not significantly different than Pat Mahomes is playing in a struggle. Like he's kind of in a struggle bus right now. The Chiefs are. But it doesn't matter because they win games. But the Jaguars aren't winning games, so people are asking questions about Trev, who just got paid. But honestly, I think he's been playing fine.
Yeah, and that's it. I ain't gonna lie. I've been taking some little shots at him. Has he been playing terrible? Nah. But, you know, I look at it like...
These jokes ain't gonna make themselves. I got you.
I do appreciate it from that standpoint because when the team's playing bad, like I said, average fan, the first thing they go for is the quarterback. But there's a lot of, like you said, they are pocket watching. You know what I mean? To me, listen, whether he was good or not, somebody put that contract in front of my face, I'm signing it. All right, listen, you hear me? But like, I just look at it like, yeah, that it is sometimes more than just the quarterback. I haven't personally watched like Jacksonville, like in and out, to kind of like break them down and say what the overall problem is. I did see the game in London, and you know, obviously, defense is a problem. Trevor Lawrence don't play defense, you know what I mean? So, in that sense, right there, you know, because like there's a lot of quarterbacks that maybe if they're not where they at, they could give you a little bit more, or like you said, because football, you know, I grew up playing football as well. Like, it's not one of them things where it's just usually when one thing is bad, you can just usually identify sometimes it's coaching, and it sucks when it's the coaching, it's the personnel, and you know what I mean? It's another thing. And like I said, at the end of the day, as much as we love this game and as much as it fits together like a puzzle, the unique part of it is there's people out there thinking for themselves. You know, there's always going to be people out there thinking for themselves. And, you know, they're human and they got emotions too. I'll be upset if I'm putting my body on the line every week losing. You know what I mean?
So that's the conversation. When you start getting the 1-5 and maybe 1-6, will guys start having making those business decisions on the field? That became a big conversation in Duval County after Jaguar safety Andre Sisco after this past game said, "Hey man, I'm just seeing a lot of loaf on the field. Like I'm seeing a lot." And then everybody in Duval County started looking at the film and, all right, look at this play. I see 4 DBs just walking, or I see 3 linebackers just like loafing, and all of a sudden that's been the conversation this past week of. That's not been something that we've seen on the film in previous weeks. I know because I actually have an all 22 breakdown on BigCatCountry.com every week. So we look at the film and that kind of go through that. For sure. That's not something we've seen, but there were multiple plays this past week where we can be like, okay, yeah, no, he wasn't lying. They're making some business decisions out there, and that's the way that I don't want to say that's the way but that's one of the big ways that the Patriots would end up winning this game, and you know it by halftime. It's like, oh wait, they're not here. Like they're not mentally checked in. They're not locked in. Yeah, this might be a legitimate game, and the Patriots might take advantage of that.
So it's tough because with losses, not only as a competitor, you always want to win. Winning is the best. But with professional sports, a loss means less money. These players are losing all this money, right? Incentives, making playoffs, certain yardages, all that kind of stuff. They're losing out on money with all these losses. So that's going to totally amp up their attitude, and you'll see players start to call out at each other, right? Especially after this game. I mean, it's in London, right? Everyone else, there's no other games on. This is the only game, so it's kind of like a prime time, right? Attitudes and personalities.
Yeah, and I mean, us with the Patriots, we done fell on such hard times that it didn't even seem like we lost by fucking 20 points. Everybody was just so happy that Drake May came out and threw more touchdowns in one game than Jacoby threw in a couple weeks in. And honestly, that's the best. I'm not going to say because Mac Jones he had his moments. You know what I mean? I'm not going to sit and act like he did it. Like, you know what I mean? He had his moments. But from a talent standpoint, as far as we're looking at it, like, damn, like we really can win with that guy. Like Drake May gave us that this weekend. Like I said,
Did he?
yeah.
Let me get your opinion. I gotta ask this from people who are watching this closely because I watched every snap for Drake, and I got questions, so I want to hear what y'all got to say about that one.
I honestly, like I said, I look at it like this: he gives them a chance. Is he their best player on offense? That's easy. You know, that's easy to see. Now, is there some things he need to clean up for surely? Like I said, that first pick, it was terrible.
Yeah.
The second one, that was a freak play. And the script sack, that line, like I said, I'm not gonna sit here and act like he had an A+ game.
Yeah.
But I feel like in the right hands, because I'm not sold on this coaching staff. I will say that.
Okay.
In the right hands, I feel like being developed the right way, he has a chance. You know what I mean? He has a chance to show that he belongs in this league. Like, I ain't one of them people that go as far as we gonna win the Super Bowl. There's much more to that. You understand what I'm saying? There's much more to that, but he gives you a chance. Like I said, if they do right by him.
And honestly, with his game, I feel like context is kind of big, right? There's the 3 turnovers. I was just talking earlier, the second interception, right? That was a crazy play by the defense, right? That doesn't usually happen. The fumble, there was a huge no call. I don't know if you saw it with the face mask they did on Antonio Gibson. Yeah. They missed it.
Yeah,
next play, strip sack fumble. Like, that would have never happened. The first interception is really bad, but that's kind of how he was in college, right? He'd always start off really slow, work his way in, then you start to kind of get into rhythm. That's what we saw at the game. I mean, I saw him getting better as the game went on, which I thought was really encouraging.
Yeah, he did get better. He did get better as the game went on. Because like I said, I don't know if it was a strip sack, it was an interception right there. It was 14. It was like 14-28. You know, the turnover happened. Houston scored. Then he came back out and scored. So it does make you look at it as, if you guys, if that turnover didn't happen, you could have pulled within one score of that game. But it's just like the Patriots defense has seemed to have been getting worse every week.
Where the hell did that come from? 41 points? I mean,
that was one of my questions because you guys look. I was expecting a much better performance after the first 2 weeks of the season. I thought you guys were like on this, and then it just disappeared.
The Patriots, in my opinion, the defense has been good, but they kind of overrated in some aspects as well because when you talk about Bill Belichick being there and not having a bad defense over the course of 20 years, you know what that was about. I can't say just because somebody worked for him or played in that defense that it's going to look exactly the same because maybe them coaching, the coaching is something along the line that Bill was giving that defense. Maybe Gerard Mayo, and God bless him, not saying maybe he can't provide that. So therefore, those talent lapses that we actually did have, but the Patriots defense, I feel like with the coaching of Belichick, some of that was covered up. He wasn't able to do it on the offensive side of the ball, maybe because for whatever reason he wasn't able to do it on the offensive side of the ball, but defensively he dressed it up a little bit better than what it was, and now you realistically are seeing the Patriots. As good as our safeties are, Duggar and Peppers, neither one of them are a true free safety. So the Patriots is missing that because both of them are more like, you kind of want to keep them more often than not kind of in a star role, closer to the line of scrimmage, run support, things like that. You got Gonzalez on the back end. Now, linebacker leaves a lot to be desired because I've been saying this for years. The Patriots have yet to flip over to those newer age linebackers, the 230s and they're running in the 4.44. They still got those the Jawan Bentleys, the Jelani Tavais, and these is all late. I think Jelani Tavai was an undrafted free agent. Jawan Bentley, like I said, we're getting the most out of them, but he was also a 5th round pick. There's not really many dudes on that defense that has that upside that's pointing up like, all right, well, this is what we're going to take and work with them. You understand what I'm saying? Some of them are already that finished product. Like I said, we got Gonzalez. Baltimore, when he gets back, that's going to be a good situation. Obviously, it's going to help. Keon White, he's going to be good, but Keon White's undisciplined right now. Right now,
he's kind of doing his own thing.
Problem. He has no discipline. When he's on the edge, he's getting beat out on the edge. Why? Same situation as Jamie Collins. He's so focused on making a play, trying to do somebody else's job. Now he's outside of his gap, or you know what I mean? Because I listen to Taylor Kyles talk a lot. I haven't had a chance to watch the All 22, but from what I'm understanding, he's a reputable Patriots reporter. He's saying a lot of the big runs that are being given up and everything else is either Raekwon McMillan or Keon White at the point of attack. Raekwon McMillan, that's your replacement for Juwan Bentley. So we already see what's going there. Keon White, like I said, he shows that upside. We've seen 4 sacks in the first 2 games?
Yeah, and
nothing. Or maybe a half sack since then.
Yeah, he's been getting
Teams is watching film. You understand what I'm saying? Teams is watching film. So for Keon White, he got to humble down to be a veteran. You got to humble down and be a veteran because obviously if I'm looking at film and I'm a football player, I'm like, damn, they picking on me. Wherever I'm at, they finding me. I'm going to have to do something about that to change that. Gerard can keep coming out saying that he's coaching and telling them this, but he keeps doing it. Then you want to know what? Guess what? We're in the middle of a lost season anyway. Sit his ass down. Sit him down.
I mean, unless you think you don't have a better option. That's the worst thing. That's the worst place you can be in as a DC is that I know this dude ain't good enough, but I also know the dude behind him is worse. Is 30% worse or whatever it is.
There's going to be a lot more losses around here because talent ain't. Listen, talent is one aspect of the game. Like I said, you said you was a DB at UCF. You know what I mean? You understand how this goes. Like I never made it to the college level, but I got an older brother that went to University of South Carolina. So you know what I mean? Like you know what I mean? I done been around the game long enough.
Yes, sir.
Listen, it's a losing season anyway. So you sitting Keon White down is doing what exactly? You wanted to sit Ramondre down for the fumbling problem? Just to let y'all know, this has been a problem since college, the fumbling.
Yeah.
It has been a problem since college. You sat him down for one series. Like, Gerard, if that's what you're going to do and you want to be hard on this team, listen, Bill Belichick made his name because he didn't care about what he needed to do with a star player. Just for the overall, for him to get that team under control, yeah, there's going to have to be some examples made. Somebody got to get an example made out of him. Or Gerard, they just going to end up taking over the team, and Gerard Mayo is going to be without a job. Because guess what? I think players are getting smart. The moment they come and say to the media, there's no accountability in this locker room. Guys are quitting. The moment the owner hears that, you know who he coming for. You know who he coming for.
That's the thing. When you hear it from the players, that means it's already been happening for a couple weeks. Right. I think it's been
exactly.
For a while.
That's what I've been saying in Jacksonville. I'm like, as soon as if you've heard it from the players, you're 3 weeks behind. You're a month behind at that point.
Right.
And that's exactly what I've been saying to the guys in Jacksonville. As soon as Andre Cisco said it on the field, that's a last straw situation. That's the thing. I don't know what else is going to resolve this. This has obviously been going on for way too long kind of situation. So yeah, I feel you on that.
But like I said, now realistically looking at a lot of teams though, as to where teams like the Patriots and Jacksonville have felt, like I said, y'all got a lot more upside than us. So we already know the Patriots are who they are. But if you look around,
so you sound so down. You sound so down in your team right now.
No, I am. And no, like if you ask anybody, I have faith in Mac Jones. Like I will give him his credit. Like I was telling him, I think Matt Patricia got the most physically out of him. But once tape and everything come in, he is who he is. But you know, it's just like it's hard to watch because it's like, aside from like if my room's a little bit of a mess right now, but if I start showing you what's going on in this room, how much Patriot stuff in here, it does suck when it's like I'm a true fan to the bitter end. Y'all may be down 30 on the scoreboard, but I won't turn the TV. You understand what I'm saying? I'm tired of watching. You know, I'm tired of watching it because at this point, it's like, listen, I understand if you're not a good team, but try. It's the NFL. We won for so long. Now you got to take your lumps and bruises like everybody else. But what I don't like is you look inadequate and you look like a laughing stock right now because it's like you got a first-year GM that never been a GM before, a first-year head coach, never been a head coach before, offensive coordinator that hasn't called plays in over 10 years, a first-year defensive coordinator. Mind you, and this is the people that you've put into a position to groom a rookie quarterback. Like I said, could they do it? Yeah, obviously they're in the position at end, but realistically, we look at it, what in their track history has showed you that this is what's going on. So now you already know you make decisions like this, you about to play with your franchise. Because so much is groomed on Drake May doing good now and way there in this year. Like I said, the wins and losses, we could put that aside. But you need to attract some free agents in here. And being that you are a team in a market that not a lot of people want to come to, you got to hit in the draft. You got to hit in the draft. So
honestly, almost everything that we have success going forward, I mean, it relies on Drake May. That's kind of, we put all of our eggs in the basket.
Exactly, which is unfair. But
to draw people, but it's all on Drake. And
a lot of it got put on his shoulders, which is sad. Yeah. But a lot of it did, and that's what I was saying to him about a quarterback that comes in and elevates the team, or he's good, but you need to elevate the team around him. And Drake May, we realistically, anybody can say whatever they want after one game. We don't know what we got. Like I said, it's hopeful. You're hopeful, but
right. Yep.
There's a lot they need. Like I said, I'm not real big on the tackles coming out of this year's draft. Eventually, you're going to need new tight ends. You need wide receivers. You need another corner, safeties, linebackers. Like that whole team, like it's just not going to be done in one off season. I don't really feel like. I feel like they should get better after next year, but it's going to take some time, man. It's going to take some time.
I mean, I think you'll be fine for, I don't know, a 6-win season, maybe even a 7-win season, depending on how this thing kind of shakes out at the end of the year.
I would expect that.
Yeah, if Drake can just complete the checkdowns and just kind of take those things, like it depends on that truly just depends on how he matures within this offense, because you guys obviously have way too many combinations of offensive lines. I think they said it was 6 different starting combinations on your offensive line in 6 games, which is just crazy.
We're getting a new one this week.
And a new center who was on his 3rd day on the team starting, which is crazy because he apparently played the best out of all your offensive linemen last week per your coach. So I just thought that was wild. So all of it. So I understand you being a little bit down on some of the areas of the team. But overall, I think the Jaguars are more talented. But talent has never been this team's problem, unfortunately. It's about whether or not they can show up and just play a football game without... Can they walk and chew gum? Like, this really does feel like Jaguar fans know what I'm talking about when I say, hey man, this feels like the 2023 Atlanta Falcons game in London. Like a team that's playing, you're playing against a team that has a rookie quarterback, that has a solid running game, generally speaking. That defense is kind of can be, Jekyll and Hyde, depending on what that looks like. And all you need to do is show up, don't trip and fall, and just like play a basic football game, and you'll probably win by 10. And if you can't do that, then you only shut off the lights, bring in the tractor trailers, and let's turn this thing into a parking lot. Like, because this is over at that point. Like, so that's kind of how I feel about the game at this current moment in time. It's like the Jaguars, obviously you're more talented. Obviously you should show up and win this game. And if you don't, you are who we thought you were. Like, that's pretty established. So honestly, I have a lot of questions about the Patriots, but I have just as many questions about the Jaguars, and that's the biggest part of this game.
And when you're talking about like tripping over yourselves, I mean, for us, the past 3 years, penalties have been such a massive problem. I'm kind of curious if that's something that you've been seeing with you guys.
We have untimely penalties, but we don't have a lot of penalties. Like we're actually one of the least penalized teams in the league, I believe it was, over the last 2 seasons. But it was always the fact that even last week we had 8 penalties. 3 of them were on one drive, and 4 of them were on one drive, and 3 of them were on third down on that drive. Like giving first downs, like it was just ridiculousness, things of that nature.
Killers.
But also the drops from the receivers, they don't just drop passes. If they drop a pass, you can guarantee it's going to be a touchdown. Like it's one of those. It's not we ain't just dropping passes. We dropping high EPA passes.
Right.
So it's when I say it's just tripping over your own feet. Like, can you just do the basic things? Like you say you're a press man defense, cool. But then Ryan Nielsen, are you going to call press man coverage? Are you going to just play zone? Like that was a big issue I actually had with him last week. He let Caleb and his receivers just be comfortable back there.
Yeah,
he didn't really put him under pressure. He didn't press him.
Yeah, that tight end definitely tight end definitely wrecked the game. Yeah, I don't know if they were targeting Devin Lloyd or who he was going after, but and that's what I meant. That was another thing I was gonna ask you about offensively. Like, if I'm not mistaken, y'all took an offensive tackle, right, in the first round?
No, we took BTJ, Brian Thomas Jr. in the first round.
The previous year,
the previous year we took Anton Harrison.
Okay, so how do you feel about him since coming into? Do you feel like?
So he had a great season last year, and I say great. Let me be clear. He had a good season for a rookie offensive tackle last year. Like it was that. It wasn't like an incredible season because if you look at his numbers in comparison to other veterans, you'll be like, oh, that's a lot of opportunity for him. Like I would like that to be a little bit better, but for a rookie, offensive linemen take longer to develop. That's just kind of how it is. If you have one of the ones who just dominate coming out of the back, you got one of the elite ones. Like you know that early. He's good, and he struggled his first 2 games this season, and since then he's been on point. Like he's been on it. So I've been actually very happy overall. If I can just put this thing in the package, I think Anton Harrison has been playing well overall. He's a little up and down as a rookie's going to be, but for the most part, I think he's a solid B+ A- kind of range. Like I think we're right where he needs to be as far as his growth projection.
No, I asked that because I was telling him earlier just the play style of football now in college, being that it's spread out, all these 2-point stance tackles and stuff. I feel like that's just creating more of a problem coming into the league, as to where when you got a tackle, you got him. You're going to pay him. You're going to make sure he don't hit the market. Clearly, from the Patriots standpoint, I can sit here and say a bunch of things they could do. Oh, well, why didn't they go get this guy? Why they keep putting these guys out there? They football coaches, and they're in the top percentage of the world. So the way I'm going to have to look at it is there's not a surplus of talent.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's a boatload of bad offensive line play going on across the NFL right now. And everybody, if you talk to 90% of teams, they'll all tell you this. Like, hey, man, we got 3 good offensive linemen, but we got just 2 that's just bad. Or some of them might not even have that. Like, across the league, I think there's just not a surplus of good offensive line play. So if you have a few good ones, you got to extend them. And if you don't, you got to keep drafting and bringing these undrafted free agent guys in. And hopefully you have a great coaching staff that can develop these guys.
Yep.
Yeah, but they're not even caught up with the – you want to pay all these quarterbacks these money, but you ain't got the guys in front of them.
So, but no, that's fair. But no, as far as this game is concerned, if the Patriots are going to win, it's going to be because Drake May's doing well at running the ball. Which is crazy to say. I know he's a quarterback, but the Jaguars actually are bottom of the league as far as how many yards allowed from a quarterback running the ball. I think it was like a little over 40 yards per game, which is just kind of crazy for quarterbacks rushing. But also, if Drake can learn to take the checkdowns instead of kind of just short circuiting and giving up these sacks and kind of putting you guys behind the chains on these whenever he's pressured, that will change everything. Because I think he's obviously hasn't had enough reps. He just needs to get those reps under his belt. If he can find a way not to take those sacks and also just maybe scramble ever so often, that'll probably do it for you guys. The fact that that Stevenson may or may not be playing, and it sounded like he might not be playing right now.
Yeah.
Then at that point, maybe giving Gibson more opportunities out of the backfield because the Jaguars really struggling tackling in the open field. It's kind of another opportunity from the first game on against Miami. Gave up nearly 100, over 100 yards passing to running backs out of the backfield. So these are the opportunities the ways that Patriots can win the game. But as I said earlier, for the Jaguars, man, y'all just got to show up. If you want to win, you got to show up on offense and just not drop balls, not have these untimely penalties. Just I don't want to say show up because anybody can lose an NFL game, but for the most part, it kind of is this though. Show up and you'll probably win without just like screwing this up.
What do you think? Score prediction. What do you got?
I've been back and forth on this one all week, like legitimately. But I'm going to land on. I'm going to land on 20 to 17 Jacksonville.
You took that right out my head.
I want to be clear. I said 20 to 17 Patriots early this week, and the more film I'm watching, the more I'm just like, oh, I can't say this because both of these teams got problematic tape.
Yeah.
I just think I was thinking 21-17. Right, I think the Patriots kind of have a little bit of juice going in with Drake May. I think Gonzo's gonna have a bounce back game. He kind of struggled against Diggs. I think he has something to prove. So I think there'll be some pretty good coverage there. So I don't see you guys scoring more than 17 just based off of that. I just think the Patriots coming in with a little bit of juice.
I mean, honestly, I'm more leaning towards the 20 to 17 Jacksonville way, just because of what I said about the defense earlier. Man, it's like we making quarterbacks look good. Aaron Rodgers ain't look good against nobody except us. So it's like
you haven't seen much of the Jacksonville Jaguars game tape, I presume, because we do.
No, I haven't, and that's what I'm saying. I haven't. I would listen. I would just throw it out there like this. Let's just whoever both teams are 1-5. They can't come out with a flat. Neither one of them. I'm talking about they gonna play a game like y'all better bodies better be picked up off that field because whatever team that they come out look flat and don't look like they're engaged in the game, that's gonna be a bad representation on the coaching.
So if I have a coin flip, I'll say, you just said it. Like one of these teams have the potential of at least saying that they're on not cloud nine, but they're coming in with a little bit of juice. We'll say it in that way, which is crazy to say when they just lost the game. But you guys you're coming in with hope. That's the best way I can describe it. Right. You're coming in with hope because you have that quarterback. Meanwhile, the Jaguars may or may not come in with that same hope. Like they may be coming in with, hey, I'm ready to get this bad boy over with so I can get on vacation early, whatever it is. So if there is that piece of it in the equation, I can see this thing that can flip me 3 points. And that's all I'm kind of getting to. Is like,
right. And that's what I'm saying. And that's what I feel like it's going to come down to. Like, given that the records are identical, I'm assuming that it's going to be a competitive game, and I hope so. But, I'm hearing the media, all they saying is, we haven't lost 6 straight since 1933. So, if that happens, like, man, it's going to be on fire. It's going to be on fire. I don't want to hear that
stat. That's a bad stat to be hearing.
Wow, that's a heck of a stat to be just throwing out there. All right, man.
That's what I'm saying, man. This is what they talking about. I'm listening, so it's like, hey, listen. Though the expectations of the season should, like I said, am I really surprised? No, but it shouldn't look that bad. That's what I'm getting at. It just shouldn't look that bad. Like it don't look like as much fight in there. But like I said, once people start throwing up stuff like that and things like that, like it don't really seem like I said, I live in Pennsylvania, but I'm a diehard Patriots fan. I roll with him. I die with him. Don't seem like Boston media sound too happy up there right now. I'm just going to be honest. They don't. All right.
Wow. Where can we find you, Travis?
You can find me in all my writings covering the Jaguars on BigCatCountry.com. You can find, if you're looking for any Jacksonville Jaguars coverage or even, just general NFL coverage, follow me on Twitter, Travis D. Holmes, Instagram, Facebook, etc. And as you said earlier, we got Inside the Pigskin, which is all NFL and college sports. We cover that on every Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. That's through the South Florida Tribune. And if you are looking for a Jacksonville Jaguars podcast, the Duval Dive with myself and Kyle, the student of the game Nash, with Fans First Sports Network, where we do post-game recaps and also, obviously preview the game on Wednesdays. For the most part, that's basically everything. Again, I appreciate you guys having me on, man.
No, for sure. And hopefully, man, in the near future, it's something we definitely can do something else. Like I said, I appreciate your football knowledge. I definitely have fun. And, as well as you too, Pat's Addict. Like, I definitely have fun coming on here because, I can't find too many people that actually have an in-depth football conversation with me. My girl, she right here laying with me. She get annoyed sometimes. But no, I appreciate y'all though. Most certainly, like I said, I definitely I'm definitely gonna keep in touch with you. Like I said, hopefully we can work on something in the future. As far as with me, I'm still, like I said, I'm working on a few things. Like I've been in here, doing draft grades, things like that. Like I said, just trying to figure out where I can find my role at in all of this too. You know what I mean? Like, I love football. You feel me? I love football. Yeah. So you know what I mean? That's really what it is. It's passion for me. It's passion. So
yeah, definitely. Well, it was great talking to you guys. Coming up, go Pats. Sounds good. It's nice talking to you guys.
All right, you guys take care, man. Have a good one.
Hey, thank you.
We're on to Cincinnati. It's nothing about the past, nothing about the future. Right now, we're preparing for Cincinnati.
Okay, do you feel like the talent you have here is good enough?
We're getting ready for Cincinnati.
What is your response,
Well, I'm just asking, do you think you've done enough to help Tom Brady?
We're getting ready for Cincinnati. Stupid thing.